Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Adz Lyson and my co-host today is Chris Massey. Chris, how you doing?
I am very well, thanks. How are you?
Good, mate. Wow, good as good can be, apart from having my gammy knee, and we were just talking about my body falling apart. 43 years old. Do you know what? I think most of the time when I come onto the podcast, I get all of my moaning and my dripping out at the very beginning, and then it leads into other stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm sure I've done something to my elbow as well. I know you just mentioned it. I was rolling with some guy. I've moved. I'm like, it just hurts forever now. I have no idea. I didn't do anything, like smash it out against anything. I've just hit him and went, ah. So that's me. Done. Another little injury for the bag. Little notch on the belt.
Exactly. You teaching this morning?
Yeah, it was really good. It's cool, man, because like when we first started doing the Saturday class, there was only about there was like 3 people, including me. So it was like either be me, Pete, and someone else. Whereas now it's like 20 people, which is it's awesome to see the sort of growth in a year. Yeah, it's fun teaching because you just see like a different perspective, I guess, which is always good for training, I guess.
I've tried to do the morning classes, but what I normally do is with my students is I put a poll out.
Right.
And I say, right, who wants to do a morning class? And like when I first did it in the old place, like 15, 20 of them were like, yeah, we'll come down for 6 o'clock in the morning. Like we'll do it before work. The first session there was about 10 people turned up.
Oh, nice.
And then there was 2.
Oh.
And then there was and then there was 1. And I was like, look, I'm not particularly a morning person. I'll get up in the morning to do a Dorney to go like surfing. That's
sure,
great.
Yeah.
But I'm not turning up, sorting the gym out, and then waiting for one person to turn up to stink of being morning breath and all that stuff. And it would just be like a private session. I'm like, I'm not doing that at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we do the morning now, but it's, again, there's 5 people that consistently show up, which I don't mind. And because I guess I'm a morning person, I'm like, yeah, I'll get up, I'll do that, ice bath, and then I'm fine. I'm in bed like by 9 o'clock. If I'm not in bed, I'm sure you said this the other day about someone waking up at 4:30, and there's not a chance he does that every day.
No, it was the Jocko thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because Jocko's constantly saying, I get up at 4:30 in the morning, I do my phys and my exercise, and you know I'm at that time in the morning. I'm like, okay, but you're a fitness fanatic and a fitness freak. That's brilliant. But so where do you get your 8 to 9 hours sleeping?
Yeah,
if you get up at 4:30,
4:30,
so by the time it comes to like 12 hours time, 4:30 in the evening, that's like when kids come home. That's when you go to your jiu-jitsu classes. So if you finish jiu-jitsu at 9, 10 o'clock in the evening, you've then got 5 hours in bed. You're not doing that every single day at 50 plus. I guarantee that. 100%.
Man, I struggle if I like even miss half an hour of sleep the next day. It's just, I'm like the alien from Men in Black. Can't do it.
I've got an app on my phone called Athletic, which is kind of like a cheaper version of Whoop.
Right.
It's still got the similar data, but not as much. So Whoop is really designed for like professional athletes.
For
really.
sure, yeah.
Where this one it monitors your heart rate variation, your breath rate, and all that kind of stuff, and your recovery.
Right.
And that's all I need it for, really. But it's pretty good at predicting, like, you know, when you're going to be hanging out. And it also does your sleep rhythms as well. So how much you wake up in the night, what time you go to sleep, what time you get up, and all that sort of stuff. And I generally know that if I don't get 8 hours sleep a night, I don't know whether this is a placebo effect or not, but I'll generally feel pretty shitty.
Oh, really? Do you think because you see it on the app, you're like, oh, that's it, I'm going to feel shit now?
Not necessarily, because I don't go on my phone straight away in the morning.
Okay.
You know, I'll get up, if the boy's up, I'll give him his breakfast. I'll watch a little bit of news, but I hate it.
Yeah.
And I'll potter about a little bit, and then I'll click on it. It's generally when I go for a shit in the morning, I'll whack it and I go, I wonder how I slept last night.
How did I do?
I feel like this. Oh, this says this. Yeah, that's reinforcing it now.
Yeah. It's like, that's it. I'm ruined for the rest of the day.
So we've got a few little talking points talking about jiu-jitsu and
The wonders of it.
and grappling. I think the first one we should talk about is training at 100%. 100% versus anything else.
It's. I always say when I do the Saturday class, I'm like, if we're doing positional sparring, especially positional, because you're trying to learn something that's new, or at least try the technique that you've just learned. I'm just like, don't be a dick. Don't go like 100%, because no one's going to learn anything. And even in normal roles, you can see it when it's usually like the young spunky white belts, they're white and blue, who are just think it's worlds. Like, you're not going to gain anything from this. Like, if someone catches you with something, maybe think about the technique of how to get something like out of a position, as opposed to just brute force and strength. I can't. It's one of my like really big gripes in jits. I hate it.
Well, I over time, I mean, I've been training 10 years now, and you know yourself, when you're trying to explain to somebody, don't go 100%, or you get a new guy that comes in and says, right, don't use all your strength. I did a video probably about a year ago now about saying strength versus technique. And I think there's kind of a dichotomy with it, because jiu-jitsu is very much based around the smaller, weaker person beating the bigger, stronger person. But that all falls out the window when the person is trained.
For sure.
And it's inherently wrong to say that you don't use strength at all, because you've got to use elements of strength with the technique to be able to do stuff. Otherwise, you are just going to be, a wet Kit Kat.
Yeah, you've got to have some sort of strength behind the things, which I'm all for. I think it's just when you're using it just out of sheer rage, just to get out of something, that's where kind of the line's crossed, I guess.
I think from my opinion and my perspective and what I've learned over time is that I think as long as you constantly reinforce, and I think it does need to be reinforced and explained a lot, because I repeat myself over and over again in my classes, which, people might find quite irritating. But I think if you say it over and over and over again, it's like drilling or doing a technique over and over again. You're getting that natural response to it. So what I mean by that is that if you're constantly telling somebody, try not to force your way out of something, which generally comes from lack of knowledge, then that then is going to make them think a little bit more, which then reduces that 100% fight or flight mode, and then brings it back down. So I think, like what you're talking about with white belts and blue belts, that's great. But as they progress through the jiu-jitsu journey, you gotta say, it sounds chadders.
It does, mate, but it is a journey, isn't it?
Through like that, your jiu-jitsu progress, all the way up to whenever you're going to stop, or black belt, is that you slowly start to learn that, and you develop those techniques where you don't really need to do that. I'm a very passive aggressive practitioner.
You're just gonna say person, just like
person. I'm a very passive aggressive person as well.
Could be better.
Yeah, I could do better. But I also know that if someone starts to step it up a little bit, you elevate it to that level.
You've got to kind of match, right?
You can, but then if they still be a dick, you can elevate it even higher than them, and then you just take their soul.
Yeah, like Mortal Kombat.
But that's kind of my perspective on it, is that it's just, they just need to learn.
They just need to understand,
a little bit more, and develop, and that's where it gets rid of that 100% stupidness.
Do you think you were like that when you were a white belt and blue belt, looking back?
I think we all were.
You had to be, right? I'm trying to think if I was. I probably was.
I think unless like you're a BJ Penn or somebody that got to black belt within,
4 years.
4 years. There was a lad here, Jamie.
Oh my God, Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie Carnell,
Christ.
who trains over in California, and he's got to brown belt in 5 to 6 years, so he'll be a prodigy.
He was superb, mate.
Yeah, he trains with like Dean Lister and loads of other people like that. But I would imagine that he probably went in there and just learned it really, really quickly.
Yeah.
So like his developmental side of that strength versus fluidity, he probably took to it really, really quickly, as opposed to just being, a grade 1 wrestler where you're just trying to smash everybody.
Like Nicky Rod.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I like Nicky Rod, but you can see that the comparison between like the likes of Jamie, who, I mean, at first glance, he didn't look like a big. Well, he's not a big dude, really. He's like quite a skinny lad. And I imagine BJ Penn. I think they did say BJ Penn was the smallest of his brothers. So when he did jits, it was more like he had to focus on the technique and understand the positions and the concepts to get better and improve and win. God, I used to love BJ Penn, mate. Like, remember his reign when he came back from, I think it was like 2004, 2005, and he just annihilated everyone. Like his fight with Diego Sanchez. Oh, I saw him at UFC 80 in Newcastle, and that was amazing. It was BJ Penn versus Joe Stevenson, and he gets that class elbow where it looks like just a glance, and he just goes poof, and just explodes blood. Ah, what a day! What a day to be alive! What a time!
I didn't really jump into like the UFC side of things until I started training back in.
Oh, really?
In 2014, yeah.
Man, I think I started training consistently in 2016, but I'd always been interested in, like, kind of dipped the toe, as it were, before then. So I did like a bit when I used to live in Aberdeen, but then there was always something, because there was always something. There was booze, and I was just on the piss, so I didn't really train. And then I joined the court, and then when I left, I've ended up going to Southampton and training with the guys there, and that's been great for like the consistency of it. But yeah, like starting point was definitely back in like Chuck Liddell, BJ Penn era of like UFC. That's where I was like, oh, this looks really fun and interesting. I'd love to do it.
Yeah, I started in the era of where Ronda Rousey just got contracted to the UFC.
Nice.
So that was when Conor McGregor just came over from Cage Warriors.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just me, which is kind of random. Is my missus really got into it too?
Really? Did your missus train?
No, I nearly got her to come to one of Tanya's women only classes on a Sunday.
Really?
Maybe a couple of years ago. She nearly came, but then she got ill on the Saturday night, and it was the Sunday, and she never eventually came. I think she would be really good at it.
Yeah.
But I just don't think she'd be that interested, which is kind of ironic because we were in here earlier just finishing the
back,
the therapy room out the back, just doing some bits, and one of the girls that was on her antenatal group when we had our daughter, and she was saying, oh yeah, jiu-jitsu is really good for kids and blah blah blah, and I was like, well, you should come and train too.
Yeah. Why don't you come along? Come down. He didn't. That was me. I'm just saying.
She's never going to watch this anyway. She can point at the camera all you want. She's never going to watch it. I don't think she's even listened to one of my podcasts once. So
that's rude. Do you say anything about her on the podcasts? See, now you have to listen. At this point, we could say anything about her.
I say lots of really hot. No, I don't. I rarely
just gaslight your missus on the podcast.
Proper chastising.
Yeah.
This is not the Grumpy Surfer. This is the Grumpy Husband podcast.
Yeah.
We just slag all wives off. And boyfriends.
Yeah.
Or partners.
Something
like that, anyway.
Anything. Anyone.
But that 100% versus...
Oh, yeah. That's where we were.
The 100% conversation molds nicely into getting new people into the gym as well, and the retention of them as well.
Definitely. How have you found it here? Because you're like on the high street. You must have had a lot of people kind of popping their head through the door.
Yeah, funnily enough, I've had this conversation with a few people over the last few weeks, because we had a massive peak when we opened the gym at the beginning of September.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of September and starting October, the peak kind of just spiraled down a little bit for like free trials and new people, and now it's just plateaued. And what I found is probably if I use the 10 rule, like the 100% rule, out of 10 people that came through the door, I think about 3 people have probably stuck around.
Good.
And signed up, which is good.
That's really good, yeah.
But this also comes down to kind of the ironic saying, is it that, you know, jiu-jitsu is for everybody.
Definitely.
But it's not for everyone.
Definitely. Yeah.
I
totally get it.
But purely for the fact, because I actually had this conversation 2 hours ago with my missus walking back to the car from here. And I was saying is that it is for everybody, but I think you have to be a special kind of person or have a special kind of mindset, because it's not normal to enjoy being on the bottom of somebody who's trying to squish your head off, put loads of pressure, pin you to the floor, look to like snap your arms or, you know, do stuff to your legs. You have to be quite a robust kind of person, I think, to stick to a sport like this, because it's not like rugby where, you know, you can be a position or a team sport where you can kind of hide a little bit, be like the grey man. It's like if you don't turn up and you don't train, you're not going to get any better. Yeah, you can't watch a million YouTube videos and then come in and go, oh, by the way, I've just watched the back catalogue of John Danaher techniques. I'm now a legend. It doesn't work like that. I wish it would.
Oh, mate, I can't watch even one of John Danaher. I mean, if it's double speed, great, but he talks a lot. I struggle.
I've got probably about 2 terabytes worth of instructionals.
That's mental.
And
Is a terabyte Danaher?
I think there's probably something like 60 gig of John Danaher stuff.
Oh my God.
I've got a lot of his stuff. But the problem with it is that so if there's like, let's talk about like maybe the DVD thing, right?
Okay.
If it came in 4 DVDs, which is 4 different hour-long instructional videos, out of that, if you just condense it and you do it in piecemeal, it'll probably be about 10 to 15 minutes worth of footage, which you can get from YouTube anyway, but it wouldn't be the same because it's not specifics to what they're teaching. YouTube stuff generally is a generalization of stuff, and it doesn't show you how you're leading up to get into that position or do that technical submission.
It's like the count, like if they do this really specific thing, that's like I like it, and I totally get it. There's going to be gold in there. I'm not preparing Danaher, by the way. I appreciate he talks a lot. But yeah, that it's just a struggle for us if he's talking for that long. No.
But I also think as well, just to maintain those new people within the gym. I think you do have to regulate it a little bit. Whereas my 101 or my beginner or fundamental. Yeah, it's a coffee machine.
That was terrifying. I thought we were getting invaded or something.
My fundamentals classes, I try and keep it as basic as you can.
For sure.
But one of the things that I really enjoy about teaching is I've been to classes before and had instructors before, because I've trained all around the country and you know, a few places in Europe when I've been surfing. Is that when you go there, some people just show you the technique and go, right, go and practice it.
Crack on.
But what they don't do is they don't show you the little intricacies that make it work. Yeah. So like, and what I'm talking about here is breaking it down simply, like side control, for instance. Right. If you've got the tops of your feet flat on the floor.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You can put a little bit of pressure into your partner with head control. Definitely. And maybe a bit of shoulder control from the underhook by using your body to kind of like squeeze in. So you're using your arms and you're using your strength to do it. Yeah. But if you go from that flat foot, so the tops of your feet, and you go onto your toes, So you're kind of in like that really low little scrum position. So you're hovering your knees just off the floor.
Oh, that's a really good explanation.
And then start to push into your partner. You can generate 2 to 3 times more force and pressure into your partner and not put any effort into it as well.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing those fundamental classes, what I like to do is I really like to just spend a bit of time of putting that in.
Yeah.
So when somebody's on the top and, you know, like any of your classes, you tell your partners to talk to each other and say, oh, is there any pressure
feedback
here?
Is what
and if they're
want.
just sat there like that going, nah, there's nothing here. And
Nothing
then you
fun.
go and show them and say, look, I'm just doing this, this and this. And they're like, yeah, no, I can feel it now, yeah. And then they go away and they do it. And then they do it. You're like, brilliant, that's what you want.
Yeah.
As opposed to there's your technique, off you go, and the other bloke, you know, is walking around
Just
on his phone
on,
or chatting to his mates in the corner, which has happened before.
Definitely, yeah. Alaric's really good at that position, at like the low the low scrum, we're going to call it from now on. But actually, back to Alaric as well. Just based on the foundation stuff, you know, we're saying you can't teach them everything on the sort of on the journey of like whatever you're like teaching, like side control guard, whatever. There's going to be so many options that kind of split out. Alaric, if someone says to him, what happens if they do X? He's like, we're not doing that yet. Just focus on these things and we will visit this at one point. Because then he's keeping it for for new people. Don't worry about that now. That's not going to be relevant currently. And I think that's quite good for the beginners, definitely.
I think what I do at the very, very end as well sometimes is we'll do like those basic bits.
Yeah.
But at the very end, before say that we're going to go into positional sparring or something like that, I'll just show that actually side control isn't just about being lying flat on the top of your partner with your knees into the hip and one up by the shoulder. You can actually turn your hip this way. You can actually turn your hip that way. You can do this.
You're really good at doing that, actually. Your little hip switches.
You just show the different variations of the positions, and they say, try it. But like you say, we will do it at another point.
At a point.
Because I think if you're teaching any more than 3 different techniques or 3 different positions, I think 3 is quite a lot, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Then the people that are training with you, your students, they're not going to absorb that, because, you know, I remember going into a 10th planet up locally where I was back home, and I remember before I went there, I said, look, I think I was a blue belt at the time.
Yeah.
And I said to him, look, I'm coming up, I'm a blue belt. Can I come and train with you? I'm back at my mum and dad's house, because it was only a 2-minute drive around the corner.
Nice.
And I went there and they said, right, we're going to send you this warm-up video. And they sent me, it was an Eddie Bravo leg entry video, and it was about 20 minutes long. What? And it was going all the way from an Ashigarami to a takedown, or changing the legs from an Ashigarami to like a single leg X or an inverted X guard, and I was looking at it. I was like,
"This is the warm up.
This is the warm up," and I was like, "This is absolutely no way I'm going to remember any of this." And then I went there and we did like the leg stuff, and it was great. I'd never really done leg stuff before, but what I found is that there were a mixture of like blue, purple, brown belts and stuff all on the mat.
Yeah.
But actually their fundamentals weren't really there. Like looking back on it, like it was quite lacking. I remember, again, I'm not trying to be big-headed here. He might have been letting me do it, but they were going pretty full on, like when we were sparring afterwards. And I remember training with this brown belt, and I managed to get into side control with him. And he was trying lots of different escapes, but didn't escape. And I was thinking, like, this is a bit strange.
You should be able to get over this point, yeah.
Like now, you know, I've been a brown belt now for 3 years. If I'm training with somebody, and say a blue belt's on top in side control,
yeah,
I'll let them stay there for a little bit, and then I'll escape.
Yeah.
and then I'll make them work.
For sure.
But I mean, my memory might be wrong. You might not have been a brown belt.
White belt.
But it just felt
odd.
really strange.
For sure, yeah.
But the reason why I'm kind of elaborating and going off on a massive tangent on this is that all those bits that we were doing, at no point were we taught like, okay, if this fails, pick the leg up and get back on top.
Yeah.
At no point was there, we need to, this is great, but we need to secure a top position. Otherwise, your partner's going to get up and they're going to be in the more dominant position.
Definitely, yeah.
And there was no little tweaks in it as well. It was just literally like, this is what we're doing. Go away and practice it. And then there was nothing, no intricacies to it.
Do you find when you teach, like you'll miss something and remember halfway? Like I don't want to say like vitally important, but the thing that kind of will improve the technique from like a 50 to like an 80%.
What I'll pretend to do.
Okay.
What I'll pretend to do.
I'll keep an eye out for next time.
What I'll pretend to do is I'll send them away and go and do it. I'll let them do it for 2 or 3 minutes, and they'll all get it wrong. And
See you lads, what are you doing wrong?
And I'm like, right, come back in. I'm going to show you again. Right, you need to do this.
Here's what you've missed.
No, I never say that. You're never wrong as an instructor.
Hey.
So yeah, bring them back in and show them it again, and then send them back away, and it's all good.
Nice.
But
I know we've went on a giant tangent there, and we were talking about like new people coming to the gym. It is quite an app, and I think you're initially saying like it is for everyone, but it's also not for everyone, because it is an apprehensive thing to kind of walk into a gym and just stop, and it's like the personal space thing as well, because you're not really used to being this close to someone, like almost just like hit myself in the face there, but no one's really used to that. My missus has started training as well, and I think initially she was finding it difficult because of the personal space especially with the lads. And it's great now they've got the women's class kind of back up and running, doing a bit more for that. And I think I just took that for granted, that I'm okay being in someone's grid and being like, yeah, let's go roll, and just being whomever. Not everyone's built the same. People will find it difficult to like get into the sport. She's getting better, and once she gets it, like now she'll get into it, mate. Oh, she'll be flying.
There's a comment by one of the kids the other day. My kids instructor Alex, his son George, trains with him.
Oh yeah,
as well. They've been training. Well, Alex is one of my blue belts, and George has been training, I think, 6-7 months now, maybe.
Has he? Georgia comes here?
No, Kid George.
Oh, Kid George.
Alex's son, George.
Oh, sorry, right.
And he goes to the local school here, which is literally like, I don't know why I'm pointing, but it's that way.
It's over there.
And it's about 5 minutes walk away.
Does everyone say that on the podcast?
And a lot. So George talks about it a lot at school, and he says that a lot of his mates say, "Oh yeah, we're going to come down," but then when I sat down and talked with him the other day, he said actually they're quite scared. Which I think from a combat sport perspective, anybody that walks through the door and has the courage to do that, actually get off their ass and walk into a gym that they don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And, the primary purpose, which a lot of YouTube the shit out of, is to ground fight, dominate somebody, choke them and do all that sort of stuff. It can be really daunting.
Definitely, yeah, for sure.
And I do forget that sometimes, which is why I try and,
especially now, because it's like that's 10 years for you, where you're like, this is the norm for you now. You're used to it.
But I think one of the key things as well is when you do have new people come through the door, is like anything, is that you do. I mean, I've been to places before. And I've trained at places where it seems quite serious. Oh, like God. There's not like people aren't like really, I don't know.
It's
not
like
laughing,
a bit standoffish.
Not laughing and joking, but it's kind of like technique, sparring, go home. Yeah. Whereas I try and.
You want to build like a community, right?
I try and like I take the mick out of people quite a lot, even if they're brand new. I'll take the mick out of them if they do something like silly or funny. When I'm teaching techniques, I'll say, right, this is I'll teach what we're doing. I'll say, right, go away and practice it, and then I'll say, no doubt in 5 minutes I'll have you all back in the middle because you're going to fuck it up anyway.
Yeah. That's like an icebreaker.
But try and make a joke of it, and then when people are like they're laughing at it because the instructor's taking the mic and is having a bit of fun with it, then it kind of resonates with everybody else, and it creates that kind of vibe as well. Whereas like you go into some gyms, and there's that very much like fight mentality, that fight gym, like every single roll is a competition.
To the death.
And it's like, you must win, even though they probably don't, in essence, kind of teach that. But because everybody's...
It's like imbued unintentionally, right?
Yeah, everybody's like underlying energy is like, go, 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 go. Like scrap, like, right, I've got to win. Yeah. That can kind of again resonate and have that, without sounding voodoo-ish, like the energy can resonate within that gym for that.
Yeah, because you'll just pick up what everyone else is doing, right? I guess it's kind of the traditional versus new. Like no one comes into the gym. Like I've not been to any jits gym where anyone sits there and bows. I don't remember any of that. Maybe at the end of some like a seminar, or if someone's come to train, like shaking the hands and bowing at the end and then doing the clappy thing. But the gyms that I'm at now, everyone just like, yeah, cheers lads, and we just have like a bit of a crack at the end. None of the bow to your sensei, fight. I don't have any more.
No, I'm not a traditionalist.
Really?
Yeah,
that surprises me.
I'm not a traditionalist, and I've never been to a gym like that.
No.
I guess if you grew up as a kid and you did judo and
like karate, because everyone did karate when you were like 7 or 8 or something.
I got stopped doing karate because I used to go around kicking everyone. So my mum stopped me doing it.
That makes sense.
I used to go,
yeah.
Like kick everybody.
Little ads just kicking folk.
I think if you grew up in a judo club where there is that respect of bowing in and bowing off the mat, being on time, and but everything is very formal, then I think some of that will carry with you.
Definitely.
But I also think as well that if you have a gym like that, it does set a precedent to an extent. Again, I'm using kind of like a stereotype here because again, I've never been to it. I've heard stories of like the Gracie Barras and stuff. Yeah. Not all of them, but some of them being very traditionalist like that. But I think with this day and age, we've moved from like the formalities of things, and everybody wants to feel inclusive and included, and the diversity kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about feathering something up, but you're paying for a service, and that service, if it's not enjoyable, you're not going to continue doing it.
Yeah,
unless you're a sadist,
unless you're mental. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the formal aspect of it, because there's lads that come to our gym and I can see them bowing on and off the mat, and that's great. Like you said though, if you want to be inclusive and make new people feel welcome, having that sort of a chill vibe will make them go, oh, this isn't as daunting as I thought it would be. No.
How do you feel about getting people to come in and train? I mean, outside of the gym, we don't like particularly socialise because we don't live close to each other.
Because we're not friends.
Because you're ginger as well, and I don't socialise with gingers.
I get it. I get that a lot.
Smell like fox piss.
I remember my stripey once. I wasn't even there. I got this by proxy. He's went, where's Massey? Little fox piss. Where is he? little ginger freak. I was like, I'm not even here to defend myself. You can't do this to me. What was the question? Threw me off. Something about new people. No. How do I?
So outside of the gym, do you find that you talk about jiu-jitsu quite a lot, or do you stay away from it?
I probably talk about it way too much. I try and like lead people in, like come train, like just candy on the floor, like Peter Griffin sort of thing. It's weird, mate. I'm trying to think if I do. I must do. But the people that I speak to outside of the gym are people that usually train anyways. The guys at work know I train, and Alex, and they're quite. No, yeah, I basically just force it upon people to speak about jiu-jitsu. The more I think about this, I'm like, no, I just talk about it whether they like it or not. Do you do that? Is it just me? Please don't be just me.
I don't have any friends.
Fair enough.
I go surfing on my own. I've got maybe 2 people that I go with there, but that's all dependent on their working. I have my students here, and that's pretty much it. But if I do go out and
but you go with people like that. Your friend group is now kind of jiu-jitsu orientated, anyways, right?
It like is.
Most of them are going to be.
But what I've found really is I try and stay away from it. It's like you remember when you were in the Corps,
right?
Yeah, all them years ago.
Many moons ago. 9 years ago, mate, for me. That's mental.
And when you're in an institution like that and you're surrounded with it, and again, your identity is the Corps, all you talk about
is the
Corps.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like that too much.
Oh, dude,
like when I was in work, I kind of treated it like a 9 to 5. I got to, your daily routine would be, you get up at 7:30, you have some breakfast, you walk down to the company lines about 8:15.
Yeah.
Then you fall in at 8:30. You'll probably go and do some fizz, come back. You'll do some really shit detail or watch some lectures or do some weapon lessons.
Go watch Jezza.
12 o'clock, lunchtime, couple of hours, come back, 2 o'clock, maybe do another really shit detail, another weapon lessons or lectures.
Yeah.
And then you were done by 4:30. If you were still working by 4:30,
it was crazy, wasn't it?
You were moaning.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I didn't really want the military lifestyle to take over. Mm-hmm. Even when I was an inlier, when I lived on camp, like I was watching surf movies, I was going out and do other things, and I, talking about different things. I didn't really want to talk about the military outside of it, and I think I'm very similar now. Like people say, "Oh, how's your place going and stuff," and I'll tell them, but I won't go like into, "Oh, you should do jiu-jitsu," or you should do this, or I won't go into it because I don't want to talk about the things that I'm doing all the time. And I know I'm going on a little bit here, but one of the things that really kind of got to me was maybe about 3 or 4 years ago when I first started doing the podcast.
Right.
Everything was orientated around surfing.
Yeah.
So I had sponsorships. I had all my friends just talked about surfing all the time. Yeah. Everything was looking at the swell forecasts. Everything was surfing this, surfing this. I listened to loads of surfing podcasts as well as running my own. Yeah. And I think I got to the point where I was just that sick of talking about it and listening to it. I just switched it off. So unless we're doing something like this, or it's in a class, then
like
outside of it, I just try and separate it a little bit, because otherwise it just becomes all consuming. Yeah. And you tend to not enjoy it too much.
Yeah, I think that's what happened with me in the military as well. Is like I was just surrounded by it too much. I can't, and I was living on camp for most of my career, so it's just that I didn't enjoy it. I find it now as well so my daytime job is a penetration tester. I guarantee you just laughed. And if you did, it's penetrate in the comments. All right.
I
saw
would
this
love to know what this is like. Is this like an OnlyFans like job?
Yeah, oh, God.
Penetration tester.
Yeah, just take my kit off. No, so like companies hire me to hack their websites or their like internal network, and it's really interesting. It's super fun, and I've realized I like it because it's always learning, and it's the same with JITs. There's like some comparisons where like if you don't know something, you have to kind of figure out the problem, go away and learn about it, come back. But some of the people in the industry can't switch off or separate, so they're just constantly talking about it, even outside. And I think that I struggle with that. I just want like a 9 to 5 just to go, that's my job, this is my hobby. And I suppose that's probably why I talk about JITs outside of in groups. I don't think I force it on. Well, I probably do force on people sometimes. I mean, we had the was it the 20th anniversary for the Exeter gym?
Yes,
it was, wasn't it? Yeah, there was one of the girls, lads, Tom, he was coming over. I mean, he's dead to rights, really, because he came in. I was like, "Why aren't you training jiu-jitsu?" Like he's there, and he was asking about it. I didn't kind of just throw it in his face. He's like, "Oh, I might come train." I'm like, "You should come train." And I think if they kind of go down that route, that's when I'll start talking about it and saying, here are the benefits of why you should train jiu-jitsu. I don't think I probably do, but I don't think I like fully like walk on with a jiu-jitsu cap and be like, "Oh, my ears today, they're so sore. What's wrong with your ears? I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you about jiu-jitsu. My finger, what's wrong with it? I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you about jiu-jitsu." I don't think I do that. I think it's based on like how the conversation is being led.
Well, I think trying to get people to come and train, I think that there is a fine line about it. It's a little bit different for me because, like I say, I'm not integrated with. I don't have a social structure around my job. I don't.
That's true.
Most people that I see and speak to already train. That's why they're here, right? Otherwise it'd be a bit weird. I do mention it to my therapy clients, but generally it's like me telling them I have a jiu-jitsu gym in Exmouth, and I'm building a therapy place in the back of it.
But
and
yeah, it's a relevant conversation, right? Like,
so, what's jiu-jitsu? But I don't go into mega details. I just say it's submission grappling.
Yeah, you know, like
it's like the UFC without the punch and kicks.
Yeah,
it's pretty much it.
Here's who you need to know: John Danaher. Go look at his podcast. 7 hours later.
Yeah, and lots of sleeping later as well.
Yeah,
but I think it is a difficult thing trying to get somebody who is not specifically interested into it to do something that they don't know that they need yet.
Yeah,
and that is why somebody who's into marketing or advertising and stuff kind of thrives. Is like you're trying to sell a product or a sport that people don't know too much about. And I also think it's very much to do with wording too.
Right.
Because there are so many different martial arts out there, like karate. Everybody knows what karate is. Kickboxing says it on the label, right? Muay Thai. Not many people know what Muay Thai is. Combination of boxing, kickboxing, and something else. Maybe, I don't know. But it's a different style.
Yeah.
But then when you start talking about jiu-jitsu, I think if you just say purely, I train jiu-jitsu, people think
Old
it's
school,
like
Japanese
Aikido, wrist locks.
I've had that a lot.
All that sort of stuff. You know, mincing around in weird gis.
You still do.
I think people's perception of it is very strange.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't have, like on my signs above the gym, I don't have, well, it might be on the little one, but it says Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I don't have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy. It's Mahara Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Oh, what's Mahara Jiu-Jitsu? And that's why it's great having an open front place as well. So when people walk past, they can see what you're doing inside, whether it's the wrestling classes, the takedown classes, whether it's
nice,
just your beginner stuff. It's very much exposed, and having all the signs and stuff on the window that people can see.
It's a definite benefit, like we said. This is it's prime real estate. This really, people just walk like I'm sure the art of jiu-jitsu guys do the same thing, where they've got like a big glass window, and I'll always pronounce his name wrong. Ciao Terra. Dante Leone's coach. Yeah, he's got the same thing where it's just like a nice open glass.
I think it's great, like being able to see it. I was going to put frosting up on the glass, like, sort of like halfway, because I was kind of a little bit scared that people would get their pants out, like at the front of the shop.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But I'm not really that bothered, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah. Cheeky moony every now and then, it's fine.
I'm really guilty of like taking my clothes off and walking out here in my pants when it's dark and people are walking around outside, and I'm like, shit, I need to. Yeah. I shouldn't really. I own this place, and I'm walking around in my avocado boxers.
Yeah. I think I've got the same ones on. No, I've got the eggplant ones.
Yeah.
Were they from Primark?
No, they were from Sainsbury's, maybe.
See, yeah.
I don't know, Sainsbury's posh might be.
I'll say it's posh.
But it's not Marks and Spencer posh.
I mean, like, if we have to rank them in, like, poshest, it's going to be Marks and Spencer's or Waitrose, right, at the top.
Yeah. They're like # together.
You get, like, greeted with champagne, I've heard. I've never been.
Well, you've never been to Marks and Spencer or Waitrose?
Okay, of course I have. Saying that, look at me. Do I look like I go to Marks and Spencer, Waitrose?
You look like you go to the pound shop, mate. That's what you look like. Yeah. Classy ginger.
Classic ginger, yeah. Poundland.
Gradings. Great. Let's talk about one of my favourite subjects is why do you think that one of the most non-talked about things within jiu-jitsu is people talking about grading? I don't think it's a contentious issue, but people don't like...
Do you mean people like a white belt asking if he's going to get promoted soon, or just in general talking about grading?
Just kind of in general, because when you train karate or judo, there are set guidelines that you need to learn per se to achieve another belt.
Yeah.
And within judo, I think like to get graded, you also have to compete and get a certain amount of points.
Yeah, you have to do a run. I think for black, you have to do a randori, make sure you get like X amount of throws to actually get your black belt, like to get the grading. So you'll see a lot of lads who are brown, and it just means they haven't been asked to, for whatever reason, not done like the black belt grading.
But I think from a jiu-jitsu perspective, it's one of those things is like, it's like Fight Club. The first thing you do about Fight Club is don't talk about Fight Club.
Don't speak about the belts.
First thing about jiu-jitsu grading is don't talk about jiu-jitsu grading. It will happen. It's about the journey, man, not the belt.
Yeah. I think it's a bit of a... People are cautious of speaking about it because if they overstep the mark... they might not get promoted. It could be that sort of like, I don't want to ask.
But do you not think that's a red flag from a gym?
It's a weird one, mate. Like Craig Jones talks about this in the Lex Friedman podcast recently. Was it recently? I don't remember when he was on. But he says he's not keen on the belts because it's a way to keep people coming. I actually like the idea of belts because it's a way to mark progress. Because you should have something there. Whereas like back in the day when Helio actually first started it was white and blue. They were the two belts that they had. I think it should be a bit more of an open discussion. I don't see the issue with it. I think back when I first started, I was really keen to kind of go through the grades and be like, I can't wait till I get my blue belt, can't wait till I get my purple. Whereas now, I don't think I care too much. I mean, I'm on brown, but I don't think I care too much at this point because it's like, it's going to happen eventually. Yeah, it's a weird one about speaking about it. I think I probably did speak about it, but then it depends on the gym, because some of them do the grading thing where it's like, okay, we'll have a grading seminar, and then you can go, okay, I'll go there and see where I fare, and some people just do it throughout the year.
There's lots of different. This is kind of like the reason why I want to talk about it.
It's interesting, man.
It's because there are other gyms around the area that I'm not going to specifically say their name.
Okay.
Where you pay for your grading. So you go
pay for the belt?
You go and pay so if you go from white to blue belt,
right?
Okay, you have to go to a blue belt grading that you can fail. You also pay.
What?
You also pay for a stripe.
What?
So this is what I'm talking about with like in regard to...
Who the fuck does that? Mate, no!
We'll talk offline about it.
Yeah, I'm fucking livid.
But I also think as well that I like the grading thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great. I think that if it's easy for black belts like Craig Jones, for any black belt to say, it's not about the belts. It's about just training, because they've achieved that already.
Yeah, same thing. It's like I don't think I care now, because I'm like I've already trained. I've already kind of got my time. I've kind of done it. But back in the day, I would love to have talked about like doing gradings and that. Never even now, like I'm never like really too sure. Only now when while I'm teaching and I've got my own gym and I grade my students, is I'm constantly saying all the time to them is like, if you talk to me about it, like I send emails out, I send blogs out to, I write blogs. I've written a blog, and I've also written an email that I've sent out as well, specifically saying not so much what I'm looking for, right,
but also is like, what do they need to do to achieve the next stripe, to achieve the next belt? Because I think it is a contentious issue when there isn't like a grading or a generic marking performer to work towards. Mm-hmm. But a lot of my sort of stuff is like how you retain technique, what you've been learning, how you apply it, how you train with other people.
Fair one,
and also your attitude on the mat as well. Yeah. So there's like 4 things there that I think are really important. And again, one of the other things that is a contentious issue as well is that you've got people that they don't want to compete in jiu-jitsu. They're doing it as a recreational thing.
For sure.
So you've got Dave, who's
good old Dave,
39 years old, got 3 kids, a 9-to-5 job, and he trains twice a week. But you've also got Kevin. That is a 22-year-old cyber geek. I don't know why I'm pointing at you. Is a 22-year-old cyber geek that
the last bit's right, I suppose.
Is on a kind of a semi-well-paid job, and he trains 6 days a week, sometimes twice a day.
Yeah.
Now, how are you going to like balance that up to say, well, Dave's been training longer than Kevin, but Kevin's technical ability is a lot better than Dave's. Mm-hmm. But the way that Dave trains is sensible. He doesn't hurt other people.
Yeah.
He helps other people when they're struggling. But also his technical ability is pretty decent.
Yeah.
However, Kevin has won lots of gold medals. He has trained nearly the same time as Dave.
Right.
But when he escapes, when he attacks, he forces his way out of everything.
Yeah.
So you've got a competitor that's there that that can be a white belt to blue belt.
Yeah.
But you've got another guy there that trains twice a week that doesn't force his way out of things. You can promote two of them, but they're on two different scales.
Yeah. Do you think there should be a curriculum for each belt or not? Because I don't think there should be.
I don't think there should be. But what is really difficult is, and again, this is another contentious issue, is that not every instructor, not every person that owns a gym, just because they're a black belt or brown belt, means that they are going to be a good instructor, means that they're going to be a good judge of character.
Yeah.
You know, but we're very lucky in the fact, well, I'm very lucky in the fact that I did 22 years in the Marines, and half of that time I spent instructing. Longer than that, I was a surf instructor for 20 years as well.
Yeah.
So I've been through all that teach, coach, mentor practice.
For sure.
And being able to see where someone's struggling with something and reword it so they can understand it a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But also that visual analysis of people, I think, gets ingrained and integrated into you. Flip that over to somebody that hasn't done that, that's just opened up a gym, and again, it's their personal opinion.
Yeah.
It can get very, not diluted, but it can get very washed. Yeah. So one standard from that perspective is very different from the standard of somebody else's perspective.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong answer to this,
I think, it's really the Kevin Dave. Yeah.
Kevin Dave.
It is a difficult one because you just have to rank them based on how their I hate saying it, how their journey's going. What did you do the accent again?
Their journey.
There you go. How their journey's going, because Kevin, the young man, no need to feel down, he's competing all the time, so you should be basing him like, okay, well, if he's competing, he should be getting A, B, and C. We're not going to rank Kevin, Dave against the same scale, but they can still be the same belt, and they can still kind of progress potentially at the same time. But I told you just before we turn this on, people outside of jiu-jitsu don't understand that belt sort of system, because it's like, you said John Jones is purple. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
John Jones is purple. Mighty Mouse just got his black. And then Pereira just got his black as well. But one of the guys at work, he doesn't understand Mighty Mouse and Pereira. He's like, yeah, but Mighty Mouse is doing jiu-jitsu and he's like a good wrestler and he's doing all this. Pereira's just knocking people out. He's like, why have they given him a belt? Like, it doesn't make sense to him. I'm like, he's probably still got jiu-jitsu. He's like, yeah, but isn't he better? I'm like, how do I try and explain this to someone? It's based off like the coach and how their like journeys evolving at jiu-jitsu. It's really difficult.
It is, and I don't think there is ever going to be a right or wrong answer to this.
Definitely not.
It's all down to personal perspective, but I also think it's.
I like your like 4 scales is a good idea. Like how you're doing, like your behavior in the gym is a big one as well, because you want people, you want your training partners to improve, because if they improve, you improve, and if you're just going to be like, no, I'm not gonna teach you anything, and just be like the big man in the back, then you're not really going to progress.
Yeah. And the dichotomy of it all is that each gym is very different.
Yeah.
Each instructor is very different. What they look for is different. But what I also think as well is that if you're a student, I think it shouldn't be an awkward conversation to have with your instructor.
No, you should be able to approach him and say, like, can you give me tips on how I would approach the next belt, or like what I need to do to achieve that. That should be an open conversation where they can go, yeah, sure, here's what I think you should work on to do to get another stripe or get another belt.
Well, if you look at jiu-jitsu as a business as well, as a business model,
yeah,
the student is your
customer,
is your client, and is your customer, and they're paying you for a service. Whether you like to think of it in that way, it's still true.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, if you're not providing great customer service and providing a good experience for the people that are coming through your door, then you're going to lose that customer,
Oh.
and that review that you're going to get from that person, which is, what's a review in jiu-jitsu? Well, a review in jiu-jitsu is, you can put it on Google if you want to, but it's word of mouth, where they're going to be like, right there, don't go to that place because the coach is a dick, or it's just a fight gym. If you want to fight gym and you want to compete, go to this place.
Yeah.
But if you can cater for everything, which I think you can, as long as like you're talking to your instructors, and there's that open conversation there where it's not awkward, where you go, I want to ask him this, but I don't think I should because he's going to call me out on it, or he's going to make fun of me, or look, don't get me wrong, I am sarcastic a lot of the time. But if you're genuinely asking me a question that's at the right time, I think that's probably like the not WhatsApping me at 11 o'clock at night, or
Shiters. Adz, what the fuck?
Or at 6:30 in the morning, where you're having a shit, go and have a shower to go to work. Then I'm happy to talk to people about it.
Definitely.
And if I don't know the answer, I'll get the perspective from other people too.
Yeah, and that should be like the open conversation thing's a good one. Interesting about the thinking of jits as a business. I mean, it is a business, but thinking it in it's a service that you're providing someone. I think a lot of people are kind of going down that route for sure.
But I think it's scary as well. Like I had Tom Barlow on the podcast a couple of years ago, and I talked to him intermittently every now and again, especially when I'm looking to ramp the gym up. He does some stuff through social media, which is getting martial arts, jiu-jitsu owners together to improve their businesses. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that really stuck with me is why are people that run a jiu-jitsu club academy, why is jiu-jitsu, calling it a business or making money out of it like a dirty word?
It's your livelihood. Like, this is a business. Like, you need to make money out of it.
For me, it is.
Yeah.
But to have a business that I enjoy, and want to come and turn up to. Yeah. And if I can make money out of it as well, that gives me a good livelihood, and people enjoy training here, then isn't that what it's about?
Yeah. Well, I'd say so anyways.
Well, but his other point was putting value on what you offer.
Right.
So what I mean by that is, again, I just use myself as the example. I've spent 22 years in the Marine. All this instructoral
background,
experience and background to it, 10 years training jiu-jitsu as well, is that I might not be a gold medalist in the Euros or the Worlds or the Pan Ams or an ADCC, winner. I might be just some guy that's got a small gym in Exmouth, but what I have to offer is the fact that my coaching skill and the way that I teach and the environment that I create for people to come and learn and train is probably a little bit more unique than the other places where, I've got a black belt, or I'm going to open a jiu-jitsu gym, but they've never done that before.
Yeah.
Or they've never done those coaching things before, never been in the coaching world before.
That's the big thing. Just because you've got a black belt and just because you won Euros doesn't make you a good coach. You could be shit. Like,
exactly.
You want someone who's really good at teaching. A good example, actually, there's John Wellstead in Southampton. Superb at teaching. He's got such a good way of getting his point across. Doesn't compete much, but as a coach, he's fantastic. Big shout out, John.
Big John
and Joe. Hi, Joe.
Did they go up the hill?
Yeah, they must have. Came back with 3 kids, I think.
Yeah, no water then.
There's no well. Moving on from their sex life.
Yeah.
Onto yours. Let's go. Let's
and on that note, mate, we'll be going over an hour. It's been amazing talking to you. We'll talk more jiu-jitsu in the future. Yeah, man.
Shit.
An hour and 5 minutes.
Oh my God! Have you enjoyed it? You better have.
If not, blame Chris. Not
You just
my
blame
fault.
me, yeah. Fox piss.
He's got a ginger beard. That's no offence to anyone that's got a ginger beard or it's ginger.
Oh, it's too late now.
Thanks for watching and listening.
Bye.